Hi everyone, welcome to Tales of Dread. This story is about a hunter who lives on the edge of Texas. He went on a casual hunt one night and found something that he has been holding onto until tonight. Keep watching. This is something you won't want to miss. If you're new to the channel, you might want to subscribe, click on the bell, give the channel a big thumbs up, and tell a friend. Now let's get spooky. This is the first time this story has been told in public. It sounds like a typical monster in the woods story, but I've kept it to myself for a few years and am now ready to share it. This happened last August in the hill country of Texas, where I live. Pinky promise. That's right. Anyone from Texas will tell you that August is usually unbearably hot. This summer, however, is what I like to call Diet August, and there's a good reason for that. I worked as a maintenance tech for a school district. So my best friends were heat and hard work. One of my friends called me around lunchtime to tell me that his family's ranch was having trouble. One of the horses had gotten loose and run away the night before, and it hadn't come back, so he asked me to help him look for it. It was Friday, and I had nothing to do. So it seemed like a great way to spend the weekend to go to the ranch. After a few hours, this time, I got another call. I was told that they had found the horse dead and that we would be going on a predator hunt. For those who don't know what that is, there aren't many big predators around here. There are a lot of coyotes and wild pigs, and sometimes a mountain lion, but that's about it, unless someone has some strange animals on their land, which isn't that rare. When I was driving down a windy back road, I saw a zebra relaxing under an oak tree. When I got off work, I went home and changed into hunting clothes and got my gear ready right away. I had a S.K.S. at the time, which usually worked fine. We knew we would probably need some quick follow-up shots, so we bought a lot of cheap ammo. With a big, sharp Bowie knife on my belt, it would do the job. I felt like I was ready for anything. When my friend picked me up, it took us about 2 hours to get to his family's ranch. The ranch was beautiful, with lots of trees, hills, and animals. I used to joke that I could get naked and wander around in the desert like a Bedouin, and be happy. The main house was at the end of a dirt road that took several minutes to get through. So it wasn't close to any roads. About 100 yards from the house, there was a barn with most of the tools, a few TVs, and a cool little side-by-side that was always a lot of fun to drive. The horses were usually kept in a pasture. But other than that, the area was just wild land. The trails had been cut or used so many times that they were a very reliable way to get around when we got out of the car and unloaded my things. I was told that we were waiting for a few more people to show up, which was fine with me because I thought the more people, the better. In the meantime, I was told to go to the barn and see what was left of the horse that had been found in the forest. I didn't expect to see what I did, but I didn't really know what I would have thought I would see. It was ripped into pieces. Deep cuts were all over the body. The stomach was torn open, and I could see bite marks, but it didn't look like it had been eaten. Instead, it looked like it had been torn apart in a fit of rage. This immediately ruled out coyotes. Even if a pack was strong enough to kill this horse, they would have done their best to clean it up. It could not have been pigs, either. There were no wounds on the lower legs that could have been caused by tusks left by a crazed person or a mountain lion. Even though lions are rare, it looked like it was the one who did it. The thought that we'd have to kill it broke my heart. I would have liked to find a way to get rid of it and put it somewhere safe, but if it was killing horses I wouldn't have cared. A person was killed. When everyone else showed up, the sun was slowly going down. Of course, I won't use their names. but there were 4 buses in total. We talked about different ways to search and decided that the best way would be to use maps of the ranch to do a grid search. But since there was so much land to cover, we would each take 10 minutes to sweep a different area. We would make sure we were safe by checking the radio. When I came here, one of the things I liked best was that we could use some pretty cool stuff to get into trouble. The most important tonight would be a pair of goggles that can see in the dark. I chose the mini ocular with a head mount so that I could still use one eye normally. One problem with night vision is that it makes it hard to judge depth, and I don't want to trip over every bump in the road. We chose the grid we wanted to search, checked our gear, and tested the radios. By the 3rd time we checked the radios, we were ready to go. I was finally in the right place to search. I got out the map, used my compass to figure out where I was, and chose a way to walk. Now that the sun was very low, it was almost completely dark under the oak, cedar, and other trees. With my night vision glasses on, I slowly crept through the brush, trying to make as little noise as possible. I was the only one who was still. The forest was full of animals that only come out at night, like raccoons, possums, cottontails, jackrabbits, and of course, bugs, all getting ready for the night. The constant buzzing of cicadas, crickets, and anything else that makes noise made the area feel almost deafening. Slowly, I scanned the area with the night vision rifle in the low ready position, and I tried to keep my breathing as calm and quiet as possible. After 2 radio checks, I suddenly realized that the woods were quiet. I was standing alone in the middle of the night in a forest that should be loud but no longer is. Most of the time, animals will be quiet when they sense danger. The problem was that nothing seemed to care that I was there, and now it was completely quiet. I found my way to an open area where I saw a big hill. It seemed like a good place to get my bearings, so I climbed up the fairly steep slope. At the top, I had as good a view as one could hope for when surrounded by tall trees. I was about 20 to 25 yards from the tree line in any direction. The sun had set, and the last purple and red light was sinking below the horizon. It was about to get a little harder to find your way. I tried to see any landmarks with my night vision. By moving my head around, I could figure out where I was on the map. I could see the eyes of someone in the line of trees. From the goggles' infrared light source. They were big, bright, and didn't close. I looked at it for a moment and thought about what I should do. Thanks to the moonlight and the eye. I could see pretty well in the clearing. But at the tree line, it was pitch black and impossible to see through. I called out to the eyes to try to get whatever it was to move so I could see it better. I could tell it was taller than a deer or anything else that lived there. I thought it must be a person. Suddenly, I really wanted it to be a mountain lion horse. I didn't want mutilating, psycho on my hunting bingo card. I yelled out that this was private land, and that they needed to leave right away. Nothing happened for maybe 30 seconds, and then I heard the eyes say, "Leave now." In a perfect copy of my voice, as if it were a recording. Needless to say, that was very scary. I pointed my gun at them and told them that if they didn't leave right away, they would die there. The eyes moved as if they were standing up. My best guess is that it was between 7 and 8 feet tall, depending on how tall the tree next to it was. Then it moved, stepping out of the darkness and into my night vision. It said again what I had said, "You're going to die for a second." I was stunned. This thing looked grey or white. Without a second thought, it was long and skinny. I put my finger on the trigger and shot at it. I didn't understand how I could miss from this far away, but I shot again, and this time the bullet hit the target. The creature let out a horrible, unnatural wail that sounded like a mountain lion scream mixed with a Wilhelm scream from Star Wars and maybe an air horn. I was shocked and almost paralyzed by the most basic fear I had ever felt. Then it moved closer to me. I fired again and again and again until my 20-round magazine was empty, but even when I hit it, it kept walking. I don't know, because it hadn't screamed again without me looking away, and the night vision was bad. I fumbled to eject the magazine, and was reaching for another when it stopped walking maybe a yard away. The thing just stood there and looked at me. It had no hair, and its skin looked like it was just wrapped tightly around bone without any muscle or shape. Even though the eyes had a big reflection in the ear, they were small. There was a line that I thought was probably the mouth. I didn't know what to do, so I just stood there. It reached out a hand to me, and when I looked at the fingers, I saw that they were long and black and ended in something that looked like an ice pick. That's when I noticed the smell. My brain felt like it was filled with hot vomit that smelled like rotting food and feces. I knew I needed to get away from it, but my body wouldn't let me. Right before the fingers touched my shoulder. At that moment, everything became clear, and I was able to move. I quickly let go of my rifle and let it fall across my chest, where the sling caught it. With my right hand, I pulled out the Bowie knife. A few minutes ago, I was bored and decided to make a few changes to the knife. I gave the blunt side of the blade an edge from the tip to the serrations, so it can cut in either direction. I cut the creature from its right hip up to its left shoulder. It screamed and moved backwards. This was my chance to run, roll, and flail around while trying not to drop the knife and keep my rifle from getting too damaged at the bottom. I got up and ran as fast as I could, smashing through the bushes like a freight train. I could hear big steps coming from behind me. I knew that if I turned around and looked back, I would probably die, so I kept running and tried not to get stuck on a branch when they briefly came into view in my night vision, which had miraculously stayed on my head. I'm not the fastest runner, but fear and adrenaline really push me. When I finally came out of the forest, I ran right into the 3 other guys who were coming to help me. They were screaming and asking what had happened, and I yelled, "Just shoot," as I tried to get my bearings. They believed me and started shooting into the trees, emptying their magazines on their 2AR-15 and 1AR-10. As soon as their guns were empty, they helped pick me up off the ground and we ran back toward the house along the trail. After running for what seemed like forever, we ran into the house, locked the door, and took a minute to catch our breath. We kept looking at each other and then out the closest window. When we finally felt like we could talk, I told them what had happened. They told me that when they heard the shots, they thought I had found the mountain lion or was hurt and trying to send a signal for help. They said they tried to talk to me on the radio, but I didn't answer. That's when I realized I must have dropped the radio when I fell down the hill. When I was done talking, my friend, whose family owns the ranch, told me that they have heard strange things but have never looked into them. We didn't sleep that night because we were keeping watch from all 4 sides of the house with loaded rifles. We got ready to leave, but luckily nothing bad happened. After the sun came up over the horizon, the drive home was quiet and uneventful. When I got home, I took a moment to look at myself in the bathroom mirror and then took off my clothes. I didn't even notice that I had a few scrapes and scratches. My back hurt, and my right ankle felt like it was on edge. That shower gave me one of the best feelings I've ever had, and when it was over, I just fell asleep on my bed. It fell asleep right away and slept for the next 15 hours. Coming face to face with that monster was the scariest thing that has ever happened to me, and I haven't been back to the ranch since. It took me over a year to feel safe in the woods again, but I still get a bad feeling when the sun goes down. What happened? I'm not sure. And to be honest, I don't care if we see each other again or not. I'll make sure to have a lot of bullets and a sharp knife. Well, I hope you guys liked the story tonight, and be careful out there in Texas. Have a good night and keep being scary.